just disappear. Because if you want to ruin a culture, do it with their language. You know, you see some of these people, some of these countries, they're unhappy with foreign languages, foreign words slipping into their language. It doesn't seem like much, but you know, when you look at it that way, they're trying to protect their culture. So, as we see the agricultural revolution moving from area to area, we also find that quite frequently language is changing. If you are not planting crops, you have no need of the word seed. Co-talkers, you can have a co-talker one. Yeah, I have a really good friend of that was a co-talker. If you've ever heard that whole language is really different. It's what's called a sibling language. It's got a bunch of. And during World War II, when everybody was trying to find codes that the other side couldn't break, the one unbreakable code was the Navajo co-talker. They would just get on the radio and speak in Navajo, and the Germans never broke the code.
The Japanese also had a really hard time with that too. They would actually try to do anything they could to get them to mess up the message by screaming or yelling. Or they literally try everything. And fortunately, I don't think it happened a lot, but I know of one story where an Navajo was actually shot and killed because he resembled a Japanese person. They almost took him away.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Japanese culture. Navajo culture, I'll tell you one thing. If you don't want to get anything done, yell at Navajo. But interestingly enough, as I got to know John, as his name, he lives down outside the Alps in Mexico. And I started learning a little bit about the languages. And when they became co-talkers, there were a lot of things that they didn't have words for. They're not very, actually, it's about one step up from our average society. A lot of them still live that way because they like it. And one of the examples he gave me was they had to make up a word for tape recorder. And their word for tape recorder is about this long, it's one word, and it means little box that says it back to you. I think that's cool. So here we've got a whole different change in way of life, which is going to change our culture. But now we have people that have moved away. They've developed different languages, they've developed different cultures, and as people start interacting again, then we start seeing a mixture of culture. And we're going to see that from now on. Electronics guys in here, radio guys in here. Interesting when you give me a probably talk about it. We mix two frequencies together, you get four frequencies out. You get two frequencies, and then you get the sum of the two and the difference. You can have as many musicians in here. You know, you're tuning an instrument, and you get closer to it. Wah, 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 wah. That's the difference in the two frequencies. When you mix two cultures together, you get three back. You get the two cultures, and then you get a third culture. That makes sense?
Kind of like when the Spanish came and took over the Indians and the whites. And
that might be kind of extreme. Yeah, I don't know. You know, like eventually you could argue. Yeah. You know, eventually, actually. could argue that you didn't end up with 30 photographs. You ended up with entirely a third in this class for a chart, sure. Especially in Brazil, there are 40 named and recognized different cultures and races in Brazil. And that was a result of that. But, well, I'll tell you what, you don't find a lot of purebreds down there. So, it's preference. As people move away, they use the languages start varying. They have need for different words, and they just inevitably change. And I'll go back to the example of the American language and the English, and how truly different they are. They not only use different words a lot, but they sound different. When I was taking Spanish, I was taking it from Little Britain. I speak Spanish with a British accent. And, you know, they have different ways of saying things. And I was having trouble with some concept of, I don't know, past perfect tense or something like that. And she lived across the street from me, and I really was. I was taking up a little bit too much time because everybody else in the class was here. And she said, Michael, why don't you just come across the street and knock me up? What? And of course, in England, that's what they did. Oh, well. The thing is that by the beginning of the Common Era, hunter-gatherers were a real minority. Now, what did agriculture and animal husbandry do about? Well, the first thing they did was greater populations. We could feed more people, so we could have more people. The more people lived. Jericho, 5,000 years ago, had a population of 2,000 people. That was a lot of people living together. Because remember, before that, it was 20, 30, 40 folks wandering around. That was all that they could support.
The Common Era is just another name.
Yeah.
Revolution.
No, that's the year zero.
Okay.
Was there around the Common Era, beginning of the Common Era, there were 250 million people. 250 million people.
When?
By about the beginning of the Common Era. That's an increase of five times in 2,000 years. A lot of studies that we've done indicate that maybe hunter-gatherers had it a little easier. They didn't eat as well, probably a lot more died. And yeah, a lot of it was a hassle moving from place to place all the time. But it takes a lot of work to grow crops. It takes a lot of work to raise animals and whatnot. And one of the things that we see happen is animals. The crops go bad here, and we're hunter-gatherers, we just pick up the food. But if we're settled down and the crops go bad, then we might starve. Another thing that we see is new diseases. A lot of these come about because there are more people living together. And a lot of them come about because we're having more and more contact with animals who have diseases that they're immune to that can be passed to human beings. Human beings are not remember, all this stuff didn't happen at once. But after it happened, we start seeing advances in all kinds of other technology. If we hadn't had an agricultural revolution, we probably wouldn't have had metallurgy. We probably would have invented copper, discovered that. But we did have more time. So as I said, we see the rise in art, the rise in contemplating our spiritual position in the universe, all of that stuff. And a lot of the technological advances that we see, early technological advances, really came after the agricultural revolution, because now we have time to start trying to find ways to do things easier.
So, networking started around the same period?
Well, fairly close, certainly easily within 8 minutes. We also start seeing change in social structure. And we kind of talked about that. We talked about camping. We've got more people coming together now. We need some kind of a social structure. Generally speaking, they start out with like chieftains. The first leaders of these smaller communities probably didn't do it by force. They probably did it through charisma. Maybe everybody liked it, maybe they thought they were pretty smart guys. That's how they usually ended up being up on top. The first chieftains that we've discovered so far arrived in, guess where? Mesopotamia. Very impressive. Tigers and Euphrates rivers, whatever you want to call it. So four rings from it. We also see chiefdoms develop, and it's almost like a natural flow. We start settling down, we start building permanent settlements, we need chiefs. We see it in the Pacific Islands, Cahokia in North America. All seem to pretty much end up pretty much the same kind of social structure. You know, a lot of times things happen because a system dictates it. And I think this is one of those times. You know, before too long, we're going to find out that these benign chiefs are not going to work when we start getting bigger and bigger cities. And they're going to start ruling by force. All that. Give me an example a little closer to home. In the United States, basically we have two primary political parties, right? We have the Republicans and the Democrats. We've had the Republicans and the Democrats since. But we've always had two major parties. Sure, we see third parties rise up, but eventually what happens is the third parties either fade in power or they become so popular that one of the two major parties absorbs it. And yet, if we go back and look at the Constitution, there's nothing in the Constitution about it. There's nothing in any of our founding documents about it. The first time that we see the mention of parties, we didn't call them parties, we called them factions. And it was in George Washington's farewell address, which wasn't an address, it was actually a letter from the newspapers. And he said, whatever you do, don't get involved in factions. Don't let political parties get in the way. Because our system seems to favor two major political parties. We realize that most democracies favor multi-party. They're set up to handle. But ours just seems to dictate two parties. Same thing with chiefdoms. When we had these settlements that were, maybe 800, 1,000. They said Jericho was just 2,000. It seemed to be chiefs were the way to go. Popular chiefs. Popularly elected. Maybe they didn't have elections, but by general consensus. So let's look back on the agricultural revolution for a minute. In the great scheme of things, it was real recent. Happened fairly recently. That happened fairly quickly. It was probably an adaptation that was brought about by the end of the last ice age. I'm guessing. It was a period when the Homo sapiens became the only species of Homo to survive. And we know that because we were the most adaptable. Right? And some of this stuff, agriculture included, this starts creating the ability of some to hold power over others. Remember when we talked about the vote? And how that ended up creating two entirely different societies? How about if somehow or the other you managed to get a corner on the wing party? See what things going to happen. So this is when we start seeing the beginnings of a class system. We didn't have that before.
No, I probably already kind of asked this, but the agricultural revolution is also taking place, or is the same thing as the Neolithic?
Absolutely.
It's the same era, same. Okay.
Same thing. Depends on who you're trying to address it.
Right.
Questions about the agricultural revolution? Anything we talked about so far? We're going to jump into chapter 3. We're going to talk about the first civilizations, cities and states. Civilizations, as we refer to them, again, are relatively recent in human history. There is a tendency, and I suppose I know it's been going on for at least several hundred years. The idea that civilization is artificial, the only real life is outgrown through necessary. That's true. That's true. In the middle of the 19th century, that became very, very popular with the indigenous people of North America. A lot of people picked up on that, and they referred to them as Homo savage. They were the ones that really knew what was going on. They weren't messing around with all this modern stuff. They were living as nature demanded them. You buy that? Do they live now in Back County, live closer to nature than you live in Buffalo? I've done both. All you have to do is drive by a farmer's field when he is spraying. You know that they ain't that close to nature. Yeah, it's a little more spread out, Maybe you can get in touch with it a little easier. and all of that, but you know, spiritual stuff. I like that. I'm not about it. But I got to tell you, you know, I can get just as much peace with the world down in Picture Canyon or down the river or City Park or my front porch. It's just going to be a lot easier for me to reach back. So that's not necessarily true. There's the other side of it that says that, you know, all these advances we have seen since we joined the agricultural revolution and moved onward and started inventing things and creating societies, it's all good. And you know, but I personally think it's a lot better than not doing that. I think, well, I think 12 of them got it. That's the camera available. Let me tell you what, that was an improvement in my life. Wow. So, we're moving out of the age of, first of all, hunter-gatherers and the first agricultural societies, and we are moving into the age of civilization. So, what in the hell is civilization? What's the difference? Well, first of all, you find civilizations build cities, and inevitably, when they're building cities, they build monuments and temples and stuff like that. They have to set up cities that can handle tens of thousands of people. We see the formation of states, not nation states like the concept we have today. That's an entirely different baby. That didn't happen until the last half of the 19th century. But states, okay? And these states have power. They have power over their people, to enforce laws, collect taxes, all that stuff. And they also have the power to go out and wage war. And sure as anything, as we become more civilized, our societies become more stratified. Class structure gets to be stricter and stricter. Of course, we don't have to track class structure anymore, right? Good. Well, we do. I know America was a classless society. I didn't go some. Anyway, there's something going on in the city hall. I didn't know about it. I got there, and of course, all of them just couldn't find her. I went to this one hotel. I said, "Why?" I said, "Look, if the president came in and needed a room, you give him one room." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, he ain't coming tonight. Let me in." It didn't work. Of course, we don't live in a classic society. We're always trying to develop a classic society. Most of us are, but you know, it's probably never going to happen. We, We talk about communism. Communism is the dirty word, guys. There's one we got.
And one's in the 50s.
Yeah, it was. It's like capitalism is the dirty word, gosh.
I can remember when I was a kid, they were talking about the communist people that were falling back by mind that they're
Yeah, about 95%.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. Hey,
Jimmy Dean did a song. Do you remember that song he did? Jimmy Dean did a song about the North of the guy in Russia was like, and it was really good. Man, that was, I can't remember his name. But, well, when you look at communism, what a wonderful system on paper. You know, for a lot of us, communism is utopia on paper. Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto defined it as a society where from everyone according to his ability, to everyone according to his needs. If I needed more, I got more. If I was good at something, I gave more in that field. It doesn't work because inevitably you end up with humans in the system. And they screw it all up. And one of the things about communism is it is real easy for a few unscrupulous people to gather all the power.
it allows a lot of people
Does it?
power.
Capitalism, Adam Smith back in the mid 1700s tried to apply natural laws to capitalism. In his Wealth of Nations, he explains the idea behind the invisible hand. If I am a good merchant and I'm honest, I have a good product and I treat my customers well, this invisible hand will give me money. And if I have a poor product, and I cheat my clients and my customers, and I have poor goods, then that invisible hand will take money away from me. You know, in a lot of ways it is. Does that work? That's pure capitalism. Does it work? No, it doesn't. It works until someone gets a little bit of an advantage. And then they can turn it into more of an advantage, which ultimately becomes an advantage that is grossly unfair.
Kind of like Walmart.
Today in the United States, 5% of the people control 85% of the world. Now, most of those 5% think that's just grand. But the thing is that percentage of the wealth they're controlling is growing all the time. That's what happens when capitalism goes unchecked. I'll give you an example. This last crash that we had, who lost money? Who lost money? Well, originally it was the big guys, wasn't it? But then they were the ones that made the bad decisions and everything.
But they're the ones that are
But they got bailed out.
I guess this is a perfect time to insert this comment. It's been kind of getting at me anyway. But if you notice, you said the 5% of people that are like controlling like 80, like, you know, whatever you said, however you put it. In case those are the people also that are talking about like cutting student funding and all the kind of stuff. In other words, they're trying to, excuse my word, they're trying to rape the little people and take all the benefits that we have away just to fill their pockets a little bit more too. They have a big thing going on about. They're talking about cutting our funding again.
Again,
One of the Republicans is out there saying that he wants to take away the Pell Grant for us.
in the 1950s, you know what a graduated income tax? Theoretically, the more money you make, the more taxes you have to pay. In the 1950s, our top income tax bracket was 91%. If you made any money over a certain percentage, all that money you made over that figure got taxed at 91%. You know what it is now? Warren Buffett is always talking about paying less taxes than his secretary. This is unbridled capitalism. We know that unbridled communism doesn't work. We're finding out what unbridled capitalism is. The truth is that governments, no matter what they are, they have to have some kind of checks and balances. So that's some of the stuff that we're learning from these early civilizations. And a lot of this has to do with wealth. Money is power. The more commodities I can control, the more power I have, and the higher I can rise in this social structure that didn't exist before we started modern civilization.
So during this time, did a lot of these cultures and civilizations did have something that they would consider currency?
Oh yeah.
Or was it still more based upon trade and
Still currency. I mean, you know, not dollars and cents.
right?
But I mean,
have 50 goats and something only
you
has
know, I really like that goat on me with 5 sacks of wheat for it. That's still currency. It's a global phenomenon. It seems to break up over everywhere pretty much simultaneously. And please remember that when I say simultaneously, I mean 1,000 years ago. Seemed to have happened somewhere around 3500 BC. One of the first civilizations that we know of, it's not here, so I can't show up, was at Soma. Last and I said, pronounce Soma, really? That's all right. In some dramatic state, it's pronounced Solange. Southern Mesopotamia and that Fertile Crescent, between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. This is the first time we encounter a written language. We also have them appearing in along the Nile Valley. Tito in Central America, actually South America, and Peru, and others in certain ranges throughout the world. We see some of them in North America. We see some of them along the Indus Valley in present-day India. They were kind of Johnny come latelys. They were somewhere around, I don't know, 3,000, 2,000. They were different. They were all civilizations, and they had in common all those things I mentioned. But they had a lot of differences too. Norte Chico, for instance, had a lot smaller town. Why? Doesn't appear as though they were quite as economically specialized, which is something we can talk about. Isn't that where we are today? Economic specialization. What's the word? Whatever the market will allow, right? Or my word, whatever the market will allow.
Well, I think kind of, there was a point in time where a gallon of milk was, so expensive that nobody wanted to buy it. And they needed to come up with some sort of check and balance because the farmers weren't getting paid enough for the milk because there was so much of it. So I heard that somewhere along the line they had just poured out.
You've almost got it right.
Yeah.
It wasn't the milk was so expensive. It was that there was too much milk.
Too much milk.
That's what drove down the price.
Right.
So the farmers, in an attempt to cut down the market, just took it and got it down on the road.
Well, and didn't the government also buy just from these farmers a huge surplus and then, they just took it and dumped it all in the place?
Yeah, that was common at the beginning of the Depression.
I was just relating that to
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that governments do now. Try to control the markets. That's just a normal job. I'm sorry, I don't mean that to. At any rate, well, that's pure supply and demand. Supply and demand is another thing that drives capitalism when it works really well. So people start getting advantage. When you've got an advantage, you can do things like, I got somebody on the competition, but I got really good profit.
right?
So what I do, I flood the market with the product, even though I'm losing money until it goes out of business. It goes out of business, and I charge whatever I want. Right?
Now, how far do you think they're willing to go with that? Because especially when talking about something like this, like if you're talking about foods and stuff like that, now they're genetically modifying things to mass produce them. So how far, which is proving to be bad. But how far do you think they're willing to go with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They could go back and buy.
That's to
the same
keep people
exact
from.
seed and buy.
Yeah.
They actually do that. They somehow engineer their seeds where if you go to Home Depot and you buy a package of, zucchini seeds, and you take those seeds out of that zucchini and try to sow them and seed them into the earth, that they won't grow.
Usually it's a It's like Monsanto people together, because they have a patent on that particular genetic strain.
It's not right to be able to have a patent on
Well, they
something.
don't have a patent on zucchinis. They have a patent on their strain of zucchinis. One of the big things when you get into farm country is, you know, people plant crops, winds blow, seeds blow. I've got generic seeds, and some of the Monsanto seeds blow over in my yard, in my field. They start growing, and Monsanto is saying you have no right to those, and you have to take them up and throw them away. And farmers are going, hey, I didn't put them here. It's your fault. And that litigation took about 15 years, I know. But I think Monsanto's got it right. They sell a strain of wheat called Roundup Ready. You know what's special about it? It's immune to Roundup, the weed killer, which is manufactured by who? Oh yeah, Monsanto. Gotcha, coming and going. Just like the cops radar guns, you know who manufactures them? The same guy that manufactures your radar detector. It's really great. Every once in a while, the sales start falling off. They come out with a new improved radar gun, so you got to buy a new improved radar. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's break even. You can't even get out of the game. They still have pretty much all of those same things in common. A lot of times, though, what we see is the elite. We sometimes see that today. The leaders are no longer leaders solely because of their popularity. Sometimes they're the leaders because they're the toughest guy on the block. Quite common.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I mean,
Well, we jump up to the Roman Empire, you know, and when you go to Caesar, he had just come back victorious from Gaul, what was called Europe. And there was a rule that said you couldn't cross the Sea River, bring your army into town. But he was coming back to Europe. He wasn't exactly sure who was waiting for him. There were some people who didn't want him to take power. So he broke the law. Crossed that river, brought his army into town. Bustle. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know, that might be one of the best microcosms of civilization there. It is indeed. It is indeed. There was another way you could climb to the elite. It was fairly common. I have in mind a country today where the civil powers are outranked by somebody else. Think about what I'm thinking about. What country am I thinking about? I was actually thinking about Iran.
I just see a nuclear, there was something on the news about them being able to launch long-range nuclear missiles.
Well, the truth is, the power structure in Iran was like this. Ahmadinejad is the president. chin, scratch his nose, without asking the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah is called the supreme leader. So quite frequently, religious people manage to get up on the top. As we find written languages, we also find that literacy comes through the letter. The thing is that early civilizations pretty upwardly mobile, if you wanted to get out there for it. China, let's talk about civilizations in China. Having spent time in the Orient, I am going to tell you up front that Oriental thinking is different from ours. Once I figured that out, my life got a lot easier. We see the first Chinese civilizations coming up, the first dynasties, the Zhao, the Shang dynasty, these guys. About 2200. But in the Orient, we find in a lot of the countries in the Orient, there is a difference of attitude. And the attitude is, first of all, one of superiority. Of course, the United States has that too. But the other one is the good of the group. The group is what's important. Very early on in Chinese society, we see the rise of Confucianism. If I am going to set up a dynasty with me at the head of it, give me a society that believes in Confucianism every time. Confucianism is more than a religion. It is heavily practiced in China to this day. Without going into a whole lot of detail, Confucianism looks at the perfect unit as the family with a very strong father figure. And the rest of the members in a hierarchy devoted to him. And Confucianism, when we get into empires and things like that, they duplicate that and they explain that the ideal government is exactly the same. And in China it's different now. Up until the Boxer Rebellion, the emperor was divine. He was divine. In Japan, he still is. Most people don't realize that. Although he's pretty much a figurehead in Japan, as is the emperor in China. You think he's still a figurehead? Of course, things completely changed in China. They started changing in the 20s and 30s. They completely changed after World War II when the communists won through Chiang I shut you guys down. But still the same kind of pattern, although in truth in China and to a great extent in Japan and some of the other Oriental areas, we find it's more of a matter of earth. In the United States, it's a matter of earth. Does who you're born as, does that have something to do with it? No. We still have stereotypes, racial prejudices, and things like that. How else does it matter? Yeah. Isn't there something else that matters that we're talking about? Do you think some kid that's born in the middle of 5 Points, downtown Denver, has the same shot at success as some kid that's born down there on the Surrey Ridge and never that? So yeah, it still has something to do with who you're born as. Of course, I look at me and let you guys have some things you probably don't know. The United States is not number one in anything. We are. We're not number one in manufacturing, we're not number one in life expectancy, we're not number one in income tax, we're not number one in education, we're not number one in this. You gave it away. But I gotta tell you, I still think we're number one in opportunity. I really do. So, just for what it's worth. Well, let's hop over to the Americas. We've got the Olmecs. Guys, since this book has been, I'm going to play your book a little bit now, but well, the first civilization, we're discovering things now. We've discovered some things fairly recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, that perhaps put civilizations a lot earlier than the Olmecs. They said they did somewhere around 12 to 17. We've found a bunch of stuff lately that is saying no. North American civilizations go back much further than that. Especially along the Peruvian coast, places like that. We're not sure. Anyway, I'm with the Mayans, all those guys. If we go upriver from Egypt, we have an entirely different civilization, the Nubians. We also find some other dynasties throughout China. The one thing we're for sure about, as for sure as we can be when we're talking about things that long ago, they all had their roots in the agricultural revolution. They seem to have developed primarily from chieftains that already had some kind of social reign, already had some economic specialization. They seem to have all come from that same deal. It was gradual, it was evolutionary, pragmatic. Yeah, well, try it, it doesn't work, try something else. Some developed